Yeah, hello and welcome to the second part of our beauty retouch tutorial series for After Effects. I'm Matthias Möll from mamoworld.com, and today I actually want to show you how to continue with the beauty cleanup of this beautiful woman here. Last time we already smoothed the skin, which made her look dramatically better, and now today we want to fix some minor details. So in particular, if you look closely here, there are some wrinkles that we want to remove, and also on the ear there are some little things like here, these little holes that we want to fix. And for those two fixes, I'm going to show you two different techniques that are both pretty useful and pretty flexible to fix different kinds of issues here. So let's first quickly recap what we did last time. Last time we understood that we can split the image information into those details, these just the skin texture, and on a separate layer, or actually on these two layers here, the remaining image information, from which some part we just blurred to make the skin look much nicer. Now, why didn't the wrinkles disappear here? Well, the wrinkles did not disappear because they are actually part of this skin details, of this details layer here. Yeah, so they will not disappear with the blur because they are exactly what we tried to preserve. So how can we fix this? The idea is that we want to use the clone stamp tool to paint on this layer to remove these wrinkles. And obviously we also have some tracking issues, how to combine this with tracking, but before I explain you this, I want to explain you the advantage of using this clone stamp tool on this details layer instead of clone stamping on the original footage layer. So let's compare those two. I quickly create a new composition, just for the sake of testing, and just to explain you, let's go to the last frame because this is the one where I actually want to paint on. So let's say I want to clone stamp on this original footage. So I right click and say open layer, and I drag the layer here. And now let's say we want to copy some texture from over here to cover these elements. So I alt click to say from here I want to copy my content, and now I go to here and paint it over. And you can see that the wrinkles disappear, but simultaneously you see that this skin here got significantly darker. So if I disable here and enable the paint effect, you can see it's covered, but it's somehow too dark. Yeah, it's not from here to here. You have like a jump in the brightness of the skin. And this is because we are simply copying the entire image information from here to here. Now what we want to do instead is we open in our original composition here. In our original composition here, we open the skin details layer. So we right click and say open layer. And now let me put this side by side actually next to my preview of the composition. And now if we do exactly the same here, let's say we copy from this area. So I alt click here and start painting here. And by the way, before I paint, I go to duration constant, yeah, because you want to paint on all frames. And now, let's say I paint over here, and you can see the wrinkles disappear, and here you can see the wrinkles disappeared, and the color perfectly matches. Yeah, so you can see the more I paint here, maybe we get rid of this too. Okay, and now if I disable and enable the paint effect, you can see that the wrinkles here disappear, and the color of the region stayed perfectly fine. Yeah, this is great because you just worked on those skin details. So it's like no matter from which region you clone, from this region only the skin details are copied and not the color. Like when you have shadows coming in or whatever, you don't need to worry about this. Yeah, this is a great thing. If you paint clone stamp on the details layer, you will get better result because you only fix or you only copy over what you really want to, and you don't have to take care of all the other details. Just copying the texture and not copying the skin color and all of this, because again, this is not on the details layer, but it comes here from the soft layer. Yeah. Okay, now next we need to ensure that our paint effect, let me reveal it again, that the paint strokes are covering the entire region. So I drag it over to cover my entire scene. And now it obviously just fits on the frame that we painted on. Yeah. Let me just, for the sake of convenience, mark this frame with a marker. Layer add marker, so that we know this is the frame where it fits. And now obviously here the paint moves out of frame. Yeah. So you can see if I enable this paint effect again, we are now painting somewhere here where we definitely don't want to paint. We actually want the paint to be here. So we somehow need to convince the paint that it moves with our face. And for this, of course, we need again tracking. And as usual, I prefer to do mocha tracking. So I just go to Mocha Import Plus. And I choose the clip that I want to track. Actually, I don't have the clip here anymore inside my composition because I have just the precomps. So I just bring it back in quickly and say track in Mocha. And now the great thing is that Mocha Import notices that last time we already created a project. So I just say, please open the existing project for me. And here is our existing project. So we have already tracked lots of masks here. And maybe it would be good enough to actually use, for example, this mask and say, please take the track from this mask. But since I want to be really accurate here, I rather prefer to just create a new mask around exactly the region that we manipulated. And if you paint over wrinkles in different areas of the face, really track them independently, separately, because this will give you more accurate results. Let's call this here wrinkles. And now I disable the cogwheels of all other layers because we don't want to track those again. We just want to track those wrinkles, this wrinkles layer here. And now you can see this one tracks super fast. Yeah, it really doesn't take much time. I export the tracking data of it. I choose After Effects corner pin data, the one that supports Mocha Import Plus. You might be tempted to use position, scale, and rotation, but this means that the shear and perspective data, actually didn't track perspective here, but the shear data would have been lost, so your track will not be accurate if you really use position, scale, and rotation. So therefore, you really want to use a corner pin only format. And we copy it to the clipboard, and now we go back to After Effects, and in Mocha Import Plus, we say load from clipboard. Now Mocha Import asks me, which clip did you track? This is just in order to know where the tracking data belongs in the timeline. Yeah, it's like if you had moved your clip a bit here in time to the right or to the left, it would know how to adjust those keyframes. This is just for your convenience. You just click OK, that this is confirming that this is actually the clip that you tracked. And now what we do next is to move our clone stamps here. Yeah? And for this, Mocha Import Plus has a really convenient function that is just called move properties. So the great way how this is working is you just select the properties that you want to move. In this case, from these 4 clone stamp paint strokes, we want to move the position and the position of the other. So I just select the paint strokes here and enter position to just reveal all properties that have in their name something with position. And so each of the 4 clone paint strokes has a clone position and a position. This is where we inserted the material, and this is where it was copied from. Yeah? And we just select it for all of these strokes that we did, the position and the clone position. So these are these 4 here plus the 4 positions that are not indicated here from where they are copied. And with the move properties function selected, we just say apply. Now Mocha Import asks me whether I want to generate keyframes or whether I want to generate an expression to contain the values. The advantage of using expression is that this means that you can even start moving your paint strokes, like keyframe those values on top of the track, which is great if your track is not 100% accurate. So we keep flexible and say, please generate an expression, because this means I'm still able to insert my own keyframes to keyframe on top of the track. Click OK. You can see these expressions are now active on all those elements. And now if we move here in time, you can see that our paint strokes move perfectly, our clone stamp strokes move perfectly with our track. And now if we enable or disable, let me just move out of the way here. You know, here on this frame, the wrinkles disappear. If we go here to another frame, the wrinkles also disappear. So this really nicely moves our track. Also, a really convenient way to track clone stamp paint strokes, just tracking their respective region in Mocha and using the move properties function to move both the clone position and the actual position of the paint strokes. So next we want to do some fixes at the ear. So we first go back to Mocha to actually track the ear. So again, I just draw a rough mask around the ear. And now again, we make sure that all other layers are deactivated. Maybe we also give this a meaningful name here. And so with just this one enabled, we say track forwards. And you can see again how fast Mocha is really able to track it, and even when the head turns, it nicely follows the ear. Now we export the tracking data, do again export this as corner pin only, copy it to the clipboard, and go back to After Effects, and in Mocha Import Plus say load from track clipboard to get this data in. In the dialog box, we again confirm that this is the clip that we tracked. And now, of course, we could do the same as before to work with the clone stamp tool on this region here. Yeah, you can work with the clone stamp tool on the details layer. You could also like place a copy of the original footage on top and add the masks that only gives you the ear, because on the ear we actually didn't change the details and the soft, so we didn't smooth the ear at all. So we could work on the original footage here if we liked. If we take a look at our problems, these problems like these little holes in the ears are visible in the details, so they should be removed there, but they are also visible a little bit here in the blurred version. So it's like a problem that affects both the details and also the soft variant. So therefore it's good to work here on the original footage instead. And we do it as follows. We take our layer. Remember that we had this layer just here to send it to Mocha and get the tracking data back. So we didn't need it before for the actual end result, but now we need it. We put it here on top and call it just ear. And what we now want to create is a stabilized precomp. And so we say stabilized precomp. And actually for the stabilized precomp, it makes sense to think about the corner pin as region that we have defined with our track. So before, with the previous tracks that we did for the wrinkles at the mouse, we didn't really care about the corners of the corner pin rectangle that we exported, because Mocha Import took care of all the details of moving exactly the points that we want. But now, so whenever you track something, so let me quickly go here back to Mocha. Whenever you track something, Mocha creates a corner pin rectangle that belongs to the track, and you can make it visible using this button here. So you can see this is a corner pin rectangle that belongs to this particular track, and it moves with our track. And now this has a different meaning. So if you export, depending on what you're doing, so if you export a corner pin and use it just to corner pin an image, this will be the region where the image will be inserted. If you use it, the corner pin track for the move properties function of Mocha Import that we used before, it has no meaning at all, so you can ignore it. That's why we didn't bother about it in the previous track we used. But now we want to use this to create a stabilized precomp. And for a stabilized precomp, this rectangle defines the region that you will see in your stabilized precomp. So you can see it moves with our track, and I made sure that it now has like roughly a 16:9 shape, because this is like what our footage also has as aspect ratio. Otherwise the image will look a bit distorted in the precomp. But anyway, so just make sure this is placed around the region that you want to see in your stabilized precomp that we're going to create in a second. I export the tracking data again, say corner pin only, copy to clipboard, and load it again from the clipboard, confirming that the ear is the layer that we tracked. And now we say, please create a stabilized precomp for me. With this layer selected, I click on apply. And now again, I have the choice to say, first of all, which corner pin effector I want to use. These are third-party plugins. In case you have installed those, you can use them too. Otherwise, I stick here to the CC power pin. And again, I want to have live expressions instead of keyframes. This is similar to the move properties function too, that this allows you to keyframe your corner pin even on top of the tracking data in case you need to adjust tracks. I have actually a separate tutorial about showing how to use this, so to correct those tracks, but for now we just keep it like this. And you can see now that our layer has been replaced by a precomp, and if we solo it, you can see it just consists of the region of our stabilized, so of our corner pin actually. Yeah, so it moves here. The track moves nicely, or this corner pin moves nicely with the ear that we tracked. And now the great thing is if we enter this precomp, so just going to open composition, you can see now we have a composition where our ear is not moving anymore. In particular, those points that we want to fix here are not moving anymore. Now what you can do is use the clone stamp tool, as I did with the other problematic things, and now you don't need to move the paint strokes anymore because inside of this they are perfectly fixed already. Yeah? What I actually like to do is I rename this here to background and duplicate it and call the duplicate patch 1, for example, and say, well, on this patch I just draw some quick masks, yeah, and some region from here, those two masks, and now I use the position of this to move it over the problematic area. It's just like clone stamping, but not really stamping, but having a bit more control about which regions I want to move here. It's just a matter of taste, yeah. But this is like covering our problematic areas. Obviously, we have here now not so nice hard edges, so maybe move this up a bit, and I just go MF on the keyboard to remove the mask feather of the two and feather them a bit. I disable here the mask to see better what I'm doing, and you can see that now I can blend in the changes nicely. And now you can see this was before and this is after, and again immediately here in the precomp I can check how this is looking like, or when the ear is moving. And so these two spots are now nicely cleaned up. Inside the precomp you can do really whatever you want, yeah, painting, inserting new layers, I don't know, everything. Maybe we also want to clean up this point here, so I just create another duplicate of my background, call it patch 2, move it on top, and let's say we want to take something from this region here and move it down a bit to cover this. Add again a bit of mask feather. You see I need to feather here quite a bit, and maybe I even want to add some mask expansion to include a bit bigger region. Like this. You can fine tune this, yeah. And the great thing is, like here, this point might not be 100% still, so you could even now say, okay, I want to fine-tune the position of this patch, yeah, like keyframing the position of it, say it should first until here it looks good. Now the ear is a little bit moving in this area, so I just say here I have this position, and maybe I could even keyframe the scale here, because the ear like stretches here when perspective changes a little bit. Now you can go here during this, you can see this region deforms a bit. And so we could say at this point actually my position and scale is still okay, and at this point where the ear deforms a bit, stretches a bit, I want also my patch to become a little bit wider, so I stretch it in X direction, and I want to move it over a bit, I want to move it over a bit to the left. And so now my patch also adjusts a bit. This is like when your track is not 100% accurate inside the precomp, you can like combine your track with a few manual keyframes to make the result even more accurate. So this was our problematic spot before that we wanted to remove. And with just 2 keyframes and a little bit of tracking, we were able to remove it. Okay, now how do we combine this actually with our original image here? Yeah, so currently this entire region from the stabilized precomp is replaced or is overwriting everything that is behind it. So this means in particular, you can see in this region here, we don't get the nice smooth skin anymore. And the way we avoid this is, let me solo this layer again. Actually, from this layer, we only need our fixes. We don't need the entire background. Yeah? We just needed the background here to see what we are doing. What we can do is right-click on the background layer and say this is a guide layer. And you could also just disable its visibility. But we say it's a guide layer, which means inside of the precomp. It is visible, but in the main composition here, it is not visible. Now you can see the only thing we see here are actually the patches that we did. Yeah? Just these patch 1, 2 layers. Okay, and this blends nicely now on top of our remaining image here. Okay, let's take a look at the final result. So to sum up what you've seen today you've learned 2 nice techniques to do some more manual tweaks on this beauty retouch project. We used the clone stamp tool to eliminate some problems here. You can use this for wrinkles and blemishes and stuff like this. And we moved the clone stamp strokes with mocha import plus's move property function. You've seen that alternatively you can also create stabilized precomps of the regions that you want to fix, and inside of the precomps you can also either use the clone stamp tool or just copy and paste and move around duplicates of your background layer, things like this. And in general, both these techniques, no matter whether you like to move with the move properties function or move with the stabilized precomp, both these techniques can either be applied to the original footage layer or to the details or soft layers that are created by the Skin Retouch tool. Yeah, and it really depends on whether what you need to fix is visible just in the details, just in the remaining blurred part of the image, or visible in both. Yeah, the ear problems were visible in both, so we did the retouch on the original footage, and these wrinkles were only visible in the details, so we just fixed it on the details layer. So you really have a lot of control how to fix stuff to get your work done as quickly as possible, and obviously also with as high quality as possible. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'm looking forward to see you again next time in the third part where I show you some makeup tricks for this project. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.